What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Wrenching Wrecked. In the garage again. Took the Evo out. It was like 38 degrees, but the sun came out and it felt warmer than it was, so I had the Evo out yesterday and then sat down to edit all the videos on this wonderful little Garelli. And per usual, I left the mic unplugged. So got no audio for all of the final assembly and fire up on this, but I mixed up some two-stroke gas real heavy on the oil for break-in. Got the VM kind of adjusted for idle, and timing kind of roughly eyeball set. That's still going to need a little bit of work, which is why I don't have the cover on. I never got the ignition switch, and the voltage regulator is not working proper. So I might have to switch those two wires. Chinese parts from Amazon with instructions from China, so I don't know. I'll just try switching them. If they work, cool. If not, we'll try it with 12-volt lights and see how far we can get before they explode. Or pop, rather. But got it up on a 2x4. I do think I'm going to have to weld. These tires that we got on here are a tiny bit bigger than the ones that came with it, one size up, which means the back tire is pretty much dragging on the ground. Let's see if this thing will start. It's cold today. I'm not going to mess with the choke yet. Hopefully, I did just throw an air filter on it, which kind of sucks because I don't have a kill switch. So I can kill it with the clutch, but that's not the best thing to do. So we can bicycle mode, jump on, pedal and pedal and pedal and pull the clutch, or we can kind of kickstart it. Let's give that one a shot. Way easier than the XLCH. Not sweating. I think she sounds pretty happy. Like I said, timing we'll still have to go through and readjust. I have not ridden this yet, so today's goal, once it warms up a little bit, is to fire this thing up and rip it around the block. See what it's going to do. This is going to sputter and spit on me, but on the stand, idle's working good. The clutch isn't dragging at all. Back wheel's not moving at idle, so that's pretty good. And it's free revving a lot higher. I don't want to... It's still early. Yeah. You don't want to kill it that way with the clutch. It's really bad for it, but a couple times isn't going to hurt it. It's working. The headlight's working. I think I popped a taillight bulb the other night. Just doing some moped burnouts in here on the stand on a brand new motor. I don't know if any of that showed up in the time lapse of the lack of audio videos, but it was taking throttle okay. If you revved it out really high, it would start popping a little bit, so I'm thinking it's running a little bit lean up top, but we'll find that out once we get it on the road. So a quick little update here before we get the day rolling. And then when I come back later on today, hopefully it's a little bit warmer. But one way or another, this thing's going around the block, and we can kind of see where we're at in terms of gearing and all that other fun stuff. Started right up though, can't complain. I had a couple issues on the timing. I have a special timing tool at the shop that I'll bring back today too. Basically a piston stop with a micrometer on the end of it that measures out millimeters. Each full turn is 1 mil. So typically on these you want to run them, I want to say like 1.8 millimeters before top dead center is typically a stock setup on a kitted one. I'm limited by the slots in the stator, unless you Dremel those out on a fixed points ignition. So we're pulling a good amount of timing out of it just to keep the head temps down. And I put the last parts order in for this, which is literally just, what did I get? I got a 12-tooth front sprocket. So if we want, this is a 10. 11-tooth front. This is a 10, but I just ordered a 11-tooth front sprocket, so we can go up 1 tooth on the front, which should help out on the top end. But I got to figure out where it wants to be first. But it was cheap enough, and I had to put that order in, and they gave free shipping if you spent $100. So I spent $103 for free shipping. And then I got a new taillight coming, because I was right on this. It's supposed to have one more tab at the bottom. This doesn't, so it's only 1 bolt. That's going to be on there for now. We'll switch that over if and when that shows up. I had a 20% off coupon and free shipping, so it was essentially free to throw that in, and that's what got me over that $100 for free ship. Anyways, rambling about parts orders. The fuel line's hooked up, everything else is working. It starts easy. It should ride okay. We'll see. We got the initial fire up, idle dialed. The road will tell me everything else once we actually start ripping this around the block. So last of the parts orders are done on this. I'm hoping after I rip this around the block, I can get out here and just deep clean the garage, because this is really starting to bother me. I got too many things torn apart right now. That Strosic engine's over on the bench and half in the bin with the mag, and all the other parts are in there. I got to start going through that and finalize that. Maybe if the indie shop's open, I got time today since don't have to be at work all day long. Maybe I can run up there and get that checked out and then start cleaning up all this crap out here. I was hoping it was going to be warmer this week, but it has not been cooperative in terms of doing outdoor things. So that's where we're at for now. We'll be back later on today. Maiden voyage. Tuning up top. First little rip around the block. She's running. The clutch is trying to slip, and we're running into a couple of issues there. I need it to rev out before the clutch engages, just because we do have a pipe on here, so the power band's going to change a little bit. But overall, I think it seems okay for the first little bit. We're not leaking anything, so that's good. It doesn't like full throttle though. So if I lay into this, I mean, I don't know how much you could hear it on this camera as I'm getting down the street, because I'm not hitting the power band of the pipe until halfway down the block. It's one of the disadvantages of gearing it out for top end. If I put a bigger sprocket on the rear, this thing would probably rip pretty good down low, but that's going to be some trial and error. So we'll kind of see how that goes. If I hold the throttle at 3/4, half to 3/4, it accelerates much harder. If I go anything past that, it starts breaking up and not wanting to accelerate, which tells me that it's a fueling issue up on the high end. So I do want to put a fresh spark plug in here, as well as an actual spark plug boot, because that thing zapped me a ton of times yesterday. But I made it around the block. That's got to count for something. Still need to hook up a kill switch, so I'll do that today. I'm gonna keep saying that and probably not do it for another week, but I need to hook up a kill switch so we can turn the thing off and go from there. But running and driving under its own power, so that's a plus. Other issues, the clutch, like I said, it revs up at first initially. You can hear that when you're taking off. It's, but it's still engaging too quick. I don't know how much fluid I have in there, so I'm gonna have to double check. I put enough in to splash everything, but we'll double check, add some more of that. And then there's some weird mixes and things that I've read people doing on these for that clutch to get a little more slip out of it, which is really what I'm looking for. On this, being a 1-speed clutch setup the way it is, I'm never gonna have that immediate takeoff with the gearing that it's set up for. Ideally, I want the motor to free rev for as long as possible, kind of like a torque converter, right? Like a stall. I want the motor to free rev for as long as possible until the clutch fully engages, then grab. And ideally, I want it to start grabbing and pulling hard when we hit the power band of the pipe. So lots of little detail tuning things to do. It's not that warm today. And then, you know, we'll be playing around with that for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully the weather starts getting a little, it looks really nice out here, but it's a bit frigid. Finally cleaned up all the Christmas stuff here. No more Santa hanging out in the background. So that's good, and I got a surprise coming for you here a little bit later on when I get back, because garage is roughly clean, just some sweeping and final stuff to do. Ratchet strap bin is rated. We'll be back later on today with some fun new stuff. Well, it is the next day. So, yesterday was kind of a hodgepodge. I was running all over the place. I brought the Strosic motor up to Strosic, I don't know how it's pronounced. Brought that up to the Indy shop. We kind of gave that a once over. And he verified basically what I need to do to measure the stroke. So that's on the back of the wagon right now. I will be unloading that, bringing that back in. I got the Garelli on the ground again. I just topped off the fluid in the clutch. I didn't pour enough in. So that should help a little bit on the slippage. If anything, I overfilled it a smidge, which, again, I want it to slip more than it does right now. I'm also taking the exhaust off, so we're taking apart a perfectly running bike, but it's not coated, it's all raw metal. And I gotta shoot a batch of ceramic, silver ceramic this weekend on customer parts for a turbo Hayabusa. Might as well sneak mine in too. So this exhaust is coming off. I'm gonna run over to the shop. I'm gonna grab the timing tool. I still haven't gotten a kill switch yet. Need to do that, but I will grab the timing tool so we can put this on the bench and re-verify timing properly instead of doing it on the ground with a flashlight in my mouth. So we'll get the timing set on this while the pipe is off, then this is coming right off the bench because I got something else. We'll update you guys in a minute when I get back. Oh, figure, I forgot to do exactly what I said I was gonna do. Went to the shop to grab the tools, left the pipe here. Oh well, let's drop that off when I leave later on to cut down some trees. So here is the timing tool. I grabbed a spark plug boot, 2 different types. Since we're running the points, I don't need the resistor cap one, so we'll probably end up using this one. This is a resistor one, and a taillight bulb. So minor little things, but we do have the Garelli back up on the lift so we can get to the timing side over here, verify that with the tool. I think we're gonna go for like 1.2-ish, 1.3. And then we'll keep monitoring head temps, but I do want to put a fresh plug lead on here because this one's not the tightest and it was arcing out and zapping me. So swap that, set the timing. Let me get set up and I'll show you guys what I'm going to do on that one. I believe the factory one, actually this little arrow right there is the timing mark. So if you line that up here, we got a line on the flywheel right there and a line on the case right there. So line those up, that's factory spec. I don't know what it was at before. I didn't realize that it had that until looking at it after we dialed it in the other way. So first thing, we're gonna pull the spark plug out of here. We are gonna switch plugs at some point. We got a 6 in here. I'll probably jump this up to about an 8. At the minimum a 7, but that plug actually doesn't look too bad for being in this bike and running. Now, with the timing tool, let's see where we're at here. All right, so we're coming up on TDC there. That's TDC. Right there. And our timing mark is right here. The case mark is over here. So if we scroll back a couple degrees, that's where it's firing. So essentially, since this is already laid out, I'm gonna use the Bizzetti timing tool. Really nice piece. I need to grab a Phillips screwdriver. But essentially this functions as a piston stop. It's got a little lock screw here. Let me grab a screwdriver, get this tightened, and that'll lock this in place. So now we basically have a glorified piston stop. Thread this in first. So now we're basically stopped on the piston here. And then there is a line somewhere on here. Right here's our mark line. So if we tighten this in, we'll zero this out. And we're gonna loosen it. So If you loosen this now, I can rotate the motor all the way over. And you can watch the piston of the timing tool kick out. I don't know which. Is that better? So this will drop down and in. You can see where TDC is now. Now we're past it. And I like doing this on the compression stroke coming up. So there's TDC. Rotate this to 0. Right there. I'll go to the other side. You can really lock that down wherever. Just pay attention to the numbers on here. Right there's at 0. So now we can come back around and I can thread that outer part in. And as I do that, this flywheel mark over here, if you look at this dot, timing mark's right next to it. So take up the slack. So we're at 2 right now. So 1 full rotation. Oh, we're going the wrong way. It's a little bit too far. My bad. If it starts pushing the piston down, and this is rotating clockwise, that's the direction of the, or counterclockwise, this motor spins counterclockwise, so as I started tightening this, it started pushing the motor past TDC, which means we went too far. Okay, 5 is where the piston stops touching again. So we're at 5 on the, this is numbered. I don't know if that's gonna show up. Focus. Take my word for it, there's numbers on there, I'll show you a better view here in a minute. But we're at 5, so if we go this way, that's 1, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. So that's 1.3 degrees before top dead center. If we come over here and look at our fire mark, here's the line, here's the arrow. So we are pretty advanced. Let me grab a Sharpie and mark this a little bit better so it's a little easier to see. Oh boy. So here's our arrow on the case. Here's our line on the flywheel. So we are a little bit off. We want this to go, so what did I say, that's 1.3? Let's see what happens if I come back a little. That's where we want it, right there, which puts us at, what do we start at? 8.8 mil. So play around with that a little bit. Points gap on this actually looks pretty good, so I'm not going to tweak that one at all. I'm at the widest point of the lobe right now, and the gap is pretty much in spec there. Got no complaints with that. Start with your points gap first. You want to do the points gap before you start trying to time anything. So now, loosen up these lock plate screws. One there, one up here, like so. Now what that's going to do is allow me to move the base plate. The mag is fixed, the firing point is the same, but the base plate screws allow you to adjust the base forward and back. It will always fire at the same spot, but when you move the plate, you're changing where that spark takes place. So on this setup, the Sharpie line I got over here, right there is when it's going to fire. So that arrow is our timing fire mark. It will fire there constantly. It's just a matter of setting the plate to when, the backing plate to when we want that to fire. The backing plate is attached to the points, so as you move it clockwise, you advance. Counterclockwise retards timing on this design since it is a counterclockwise spinning flywheel. So let me mess with that real quick. I don't know how much I'm going to film of this because it's hard to see. So right there's 1 mil before TDC. Points are just starting to break as the piston hits that stop. And we're 1 mil, I think we're going to try it there. 1 millimeter before top dead center. Since we're going through the slots, you got to rotate it back a bit to make sure you can get to the screws on the base plate. But there we go. Lines are queued up. Should be good right there. Maybe I'll throw the exhaust back on so we can test this one more time. I cut the boot off. I threw the exhaust back on, so it's a good thing I left it here. Did that on purpose. Like I knew I was going to come back out here and wrench around. So we'll put a new boot on here. These NGK ones are just twist ends or thread ends. Pull your boots down. There's your water seal there. Same thing here. Now we don't need the cap on this anymore. Thread this in. Put the gas on, get that flowing. We'll just drill start it because I don't feel like pulling it off the bench. Push the choke down and flick the fuel filter. Now she fires right up. I just took brake clean and sprayed it around here. I don't have any air leaks that I know of on here, so that's good. Now it's just a matter of another trial on the road, which we might do before we leave. So that'll wrap this one up. I'm going to keep messing with the timing. I mean, like I said, it's limited on the slot in terms of advancing. We at least have everything marked on here. Need be, now that I got a timing mark there and one on the flywheel. We can hook this up to a timing light and see roughly where it's at as well. But we'll see what happens. Idle. She is not happy up top. It's good on that initial takeoff. But if I go past half throttle, she's breaking up. Garelli's running, Evo's running fine. Matching grips. Those are temporary on the Evo, they're not going to stay that long. But we finished up this one, and I was gonna try and get the shovel head up on the lift. That was the goal. And then, per usual, what Daddy got me for the birthday. That and some shirts and stuff. Got a banner for the door. Pretty swell. Anyways, this thing I gotta move. The Shovelhead's gonna wait a little bit longer. Hopefully not that long, because we did it again.